Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to teach you how you can create this beautiful modern user interface using C++ inside Visual Studio. Hi there, it's me from the future. I quickly want to mention that if the video is going too fast, please go ahead and watch the previous videos because I have cut the video as much as possible to make the video short and less boring to watch. If you think the video is going too fast, you can either slow down the video or just go and learn the basics. If you have the basic knowledge, then the video will be much easier to watch. And let's continue with the video. So basically this is a sign-in form for some application. So this is just a demo application I created for my channel. So this is, you can think of this like a sign-in form to import settings and preferences into your application and sync your settings across different devices using the cloud. So this is a simple design with the basic elements you need in a sign-in form. We have the username field, the password field, and we have a terms and conditions checkbox, and then we have the sign-in button, and then we can continue to the application without signing in, and then a register button to register, which just redirects us to a website. So you can put whatever website you want there. Then we have this other section which you can use to put something there. I just put a did you know section. You can put whatever you need. And talking about the functionality, as you can see, if we click on the username field, the username text will be cleared and we are able to type our own username. And if I click on the password field, the password is cleared and we can type our password. And also this does not happen when we have typed a valid username like this. It does not clear when we click on it the next time. It only clears when you click on it the first time when it has the text of username. And then we have the checkbox. If you uncheck the checkbox, which means you disagree to the terms and conditions, so then you can't click on the sign in button. And if you agree, you can click on the sign in button. And now if we type something to the password field and click on sign in, basically you cannot put username as the username. So this says invalid username. So if I type something like this, user doesn't exist because I haven't coded this user to exist in our application. So if I type admin, which is a valid user, then it will say that our password is invalid. And if I type password, which is the correct password, then we can sign into our application successfully. If you don't want to sign in to the application, you can just continue to the application without signing in by clicking here. If you click on that, it will give us this prompt. And if you click no, then you can sign in. If you click yes, then you can do whatever you want without signing to the application. So that's the basic functionality of this app. So before we start creating this, I highly encourage you to go ahead and watch our previous videos about this subject where we go through each and every element like buttons, text boxes thoroughly, discuss the concepts and the basic knowledge you need to create something like this. And also, if you don't know how to create a Visual Studio C++ CLR Windows Forms application project, you can watch this video right here and then come back and watch this, because if you don't know how to create the project, you should watch that and install the correct workloads and the correct components to create a project successfully, because that's a quite tedious process. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get started with the designing part. So before we create something inside Visual Studio, what I usually do is I will go to Photoshop or any other designing program like that, and then I will design the user interface inside the program like Photoshop. Then I have the freedom to create whatever I need, and then I can import elements that I need to create that user interface into Visual Studio like pictures and stuff. It is always a good practice to design the user interface inside a design application and implement that inside the coding environment. So I have this basic design. I put two gradients here, and then I have the company logo, and I have a little slogan, and then I have this no account register thing, and then the other stuff. So this is just a rough sketch as to what I will implement in the development environment. So as you can see, I haven't put styling in this text, but I have made it bold in the implementation because I thought that was cool. And some things are easier to implement in the development environment rather than in the designing program, because adding a checkbox here will be a quite tedious task. All I have to do in the development environment is just add this checkbox from the toolbox and change its text. So that's why I didn't include that in the design, but I included that in the implementation. So the main thing you need to understand is you should probably first design at least a rough sketch inside a designing program like Photoshop or Adobe XD or whatever you like, and then use that rough sketch to implement the correct visual user interface inside the development environment, just like this. this is not something limited to C++. This is applicable to all languages and every development project you will do in the future. Enough with the introduction. So let's create a project inside Visual Studio. So let's create a new project and I will choose CLR empty project. I will name this as modern sign in UI CPP. Okay, let's create. And then let's go to the project's properties, and in linker let's change the system to Windows, and in advanced let's change the enter point to main. Let's add an item to our project, which is going to be a Windows form. Okay, so let's close this and unload the project and reload. Okay, now we have our form. So again, if you don't know how to create a project and you didn't understand these steps, you can watch this video, go through the process step by step, and also teach you how you can install Visual Studio correctly to create this project, because sometimes you cannot create this project. You need to install certain workloads. Make sure you watch that video and create this project successfully before continue to the next steps. So let's go to the MyForm.cpp file and we need to paste this code. I will put it in the description and as a pinned comment below, and I will paste it right here, and I will change the project name to modern sign in UI CPP, and now we can close that file as well. Okay, so for the design, I already have some schematics for our form, so I will apply those things really quickly. The size of our form is going to be 1204 by 720, and this is going to be a fixed single, and the fore color is going to be white. And as the font, I'm going to use the new Windows 11 font. If you don't have that, you can download it, or you can use just the Windows 10 Sego UI font. I will use Sego UI variable because it has some nice improvements to the font. I will use font size 8, and I think I have to change the size again to 720. And next I will change the text of the form to sign in to cyber, and then let's change the start position to center screen, and then we will remove the maximize box. That's it for the form. So let's add panels. So let's search for a panel, and this panel is going to be the right one. So I will dock this to the right side of the form and change its size to 780 by 681, right? And I will use another panel as fill, just like that. And for this panel, I will choose the background image as this left gradient. I have exported this from Photoshop by going here, and I made this a smart object, and then I exported this as a PNG. So after that, I have this PNG. Now I can choose that as the left gradient of my application, and I will open that, and then I will change the background image layout to stretch, because this is a gradient and its ratio does not have to be perfect. It is fine to stretch the gradient, and for this one I will choose the right gradient, and let's change this to stretch as well. Okay, so now let's add a picture, and let's choose the image. I'm going to use the company logo. The size is going to be zoom, and I will resize it like that. And for the background color, I will change it to transparent. In the size, I will enter the size manually. We will add another picture box, and for this one I will choose the cyber text like that. I will just put auto size. So now we need the label, so let's go label and put it here, and for the label I will put the background color as transparent, and for the text I will put, this is going to be top center aligned. The size of the text is going to be 13.25 points, just like that. And then we need another label. This is going to be no account, and we need a button. And for the buttons options, I will go to flat appearance and change the flat style to flat, and change the border size to 0, and then change its back color. So I have this hex code for the button, which is actually I will put the RGB values 174.135.15, and for the font size I will use 11 points, and for the text I will use register. And let's resize this button a little bit. Okay, so now let's copy this label over here and change its font. I will make it display bold, and for the font size I will put 33 and change its text to sign in and place it somewhere over here. And let's grab this text again, and actually I will go ahead and copy the text from this one and change its alignment to top left. And also let's go all the way down and change auto size to false, so that we can use this as a resizable text box, so that we can adjust where the text will appear. Let's make its size to about 10 points like that. And now we need another panel for the username and password fields, and this is going to be 25 50 69, and this is our username field, so I will need a text box as well, so I will put that here. And for the text box, change the border style to none and back color to the same color of this panel, and let's change the font size to about 12 points, and I will place it over here. And now we have our text field, so I will copy that and paste it over here. For this one, I will type username, and also we need to change the foreground color to white as well. And for this one, I will type password. Actually, it doesn't matter what you type here because it's going to be appeared as bullets. So to do that, let's change use system password char to true. Now we need a checkbox. For the checkbox back color, let's choose transparent. And for the checkbox's text, I will just copy the text from this one, and I will make this as checked, not unchecked, like that. Okay, so let's copy this button over here, and I will resize it to the size of the text boxes, and let's change the text of this one to sign in. And now we need another label, so I will just copy this one and change this to, actually I will copy the text from here, continue without signing in, and let's change the text align to center, and I will resize it like that. And I will change its font style to underlined, and also the font color to 70, 108 and 136. So the reason why I'm changing it to a less visible color is we need the user to sign into our application, so we need to make the option less visible so user is not attracted to that option. Otherwise the user will not sign into application. So we need to make signing into the application obvious and not signing into the application less obvious. That's why we are doing that. And for the bottom section, I will use another panel as well. So let's just grab that here, and I will make the dock to bottom, and I will just move all these stuff to the middle like this. We can align these items like that. And for this panel, I will change its back color to 20, 58 and 86, and for the size of it I will put 780 by 128. And I will need another text box. I will just copy this one, and this is going to be did you know. You can put whatever you want. I'm just using this as a demo text. So for the font size, I will put this as 14 points, and let's make it bold. And I will copy that and paste it, and let's change its font style to just regular display, and it is going to be 11 points. And I will just copy the text from here like that. Now I will just align these to the center like that, and now we can select these items and align them to the center as well. So I think that's it for the user interface. So let's run the application and see whether it looks right in the screen. So let's run the application. Okay, so this is our application. As you can see, it is working, and the UI actually looks okay. Actually, this is a little bit off aligned, but let's fix that. That's not that much of a problem. So the UI is working just the way we wanted it to. So let's go ahead and code all the elements. So as you can see, currently the text boxes are not working the way we want, and also the checkbox isn't doing anything, and we can't actually sign into the application. And also just so you know, sign-in forms do not need terms and conditions, because you are just entering your username and password and then logging into your account, just like how you would do in Instagram or Facebook. Terms and conditions are required in like register environments. I just put it here because I need to show you how you can use a checkbox to enable and disable a button. Now let's go ahead and code the functionality of our application. So before that, I will just align this to the center. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will go to this Textbox's click event. So to do that, I will go to the Textbox's properties and click on the events button, and go all the way up here and double click on click. And in here, I will type some code. So what I'm going to do is I will check whether the Textbox's text is username, which currently is. So if the checkbox's text is username, we need to change that to just a space. Okay, so we need to clear the text box. And so to do that, we can use an if condition. So in the if condition, I will type textbox1 text is equals to username. Then we need to change its text to just a null string like that. So we need to do the same thing for the password field as well. So let's go to the form and create the click event for the password field. So let's go here and find click event, and in here we will just change this to textbox2 and change this to password. Okay, so now let's try to run the program and see how it works. Okay, so now if we click on the username, as you can see, the text is erased, and if I click somewhere else, the text does not come again. So what we need to do is we need to show the username text when you click somewhere else. So as you can see in this application, if I run my original application, if we click here and click somewhere else, you can see the text just comes right back. So that's what we are going to do now. So we will create just click events for all the other elements, which is, I think, the easiest way to do this, because you don't have to deal with advanced stuff. You can just do that. Okay, it will work. So to do that, I will select all of these elements except the text fields and all the panels as well, and then in the events section I will create a common click event for all of these elements. So I will just name this as other click. So if other click happens, which means the user clicked on somewhere else other than these two fields. So if that happens, we need to check whether the text inside these text fields are just empty strings. So if there's empty strings, that means the user have clicked on them earlier, and now we can just restore them to the default values. So to do that, we will use if condition. So in the if condition, I will check whether if textbox1 text is equals to just a null string like that, and if so, let's just add the textbox's text as username like that, and I will just use the same thing for the password text box as well, which is textbox2, and I will change this to password. So as you can remember, I selected all the other elements but not the text boxes, because we need to implement this code separately for those two text boxes. So if the user clicks on the username text box, then this happens, and next if the user clicks on the password field, then we need to assign actually change the text of the text box 1 to username back. So to do that, I will just copy this part to here. Actually, let's run the program and see how it works before we do that, so you can understand it better. So what I'm saying is, so if you click here, as you can see, the text is gone, and if I click here, the text is back, and now if I click here, the password is gone, but when I click on the username field, the password does not come again. So if I click here, the username is not there also, and the password is not also there, and if I click somewhere else, both of those appear, but we need to reappear username text in here when we click on the password field as well. So to do that, let's just copy these two parts separately and paste them inside these two event handlers, just like that. So now if we run the program, as you can see, it works just fine, just the way we want it to work. Now that part is done, we can go ahead and code the checkbox. So let's go to the form and click on this, actually click somewhere else first, and add event handler for our checkbox just right here. So for the checkbox, let's go to the check. Actually, let's double click on the checkbox. It will just create the default event handler, which is check changed. So this event handler will carry out the functions that are required to run when the check state of the checkbox changes. So for instance, if the user changes the checkbox from checked to unchecked, the code will run, or from unchecked to checked. What we need to do is, let's check if the checkbox once checked is equals to true, which means the checkbox 1 is now checked. So if the checkbox is checked, so this means now the user has clicked on the checkbox, and now the checkbox is in the checked state. So if the checkbox is checked, then we need to change the button 2's enabled option to true. So in the else statement, we can do the opposite, which is button 2 enabled equals to false. Okay, so what will happen is, when the user clicks on the checkbox, it will first see whether the checkbox is now checked. If the checkbox is checked, the button 2 will be enabled so that the user can click on the sign in button. So else, which means the checkbox is not checked. If the checkbox is not checked, we need to disable the button. So that's why we put false in there. So now let's run the program and see how it works. And now, as you can see, it works just the way we want it to work. Now let's code this label right here, which is the continue without signing in label. Actually, we need to create a separate click event for this label. So we already created a click event for this label earlier when we selected all of the items and created the click event. So now we need to create a separate click event for this label. So I will just remove the click event from that label and I will just hit enter to create another event handler for the label. We need to copy this code from here and I will paste it here. In addition to that code, we need to check whether the user wants to exit out of the application. So we are going to ask a question whether the user really wants to continue without signing in. If he says no, then we can allow him to sign into the application. If he says yes, then we can just continue to the application. So in our application, we are just going to exit out of the application. You can just add whatever code you need into this area. So I will just check whether the user will say yes or no. To do that, let's just show a message box. So a message box is used to show messages. So if you don't know what that is, you will see in a moment. So let's show the message box. This message box will contain a text of, actually I will copy it from here. I will go to the code and just copy this from here like that. I'm just copying the text. It has nothing to do with the code. This is the text that we're going to show in the message box. Are you sure you want to continue without signing in? This will stop synchronizing your settings and won't customize any setting. You can put whatever you want here. This is going to be the content of our message box and this is going to be the title of our message box. So when the message box is shown, you will see in a moment, it has a title just like we have title in this one. And also, for instance, if you open here, as you can see, the title of this window is app resources, and just like that, the message box also has a title that will go here. And our message box will have two buttons. So to add buttons to our message box, let's put message box buttons yes no as a parameter to this message box show method. And what we're going to do is check whether this message box is equal to system Windows forms dialog result yes. So if the message box's result is equals to yes, then we can do something here. So that means the user agrees that he wants to continue without signing in. So now we can just exit out of the application by application exit. We don't need an else condition because we are not going to do anything. When the user clicks on the no button, it will just close the message box and will do nothing. So I will show how this looks like. So let's run the application. So now if the user clicks on continue without signing in, as you can see, there's our message box's title, are you sure, and there's the content of the message box. And if I click on no, the user can just continue to the sign in form, and if we click on yes, the application will exit. And also I want to point out something. In these type of programs, most of the time it is better to change the cursor type to hand, not the default cursor, because these don't look very similar to the native Windows controls. So the user might not recognize these buttons whether they are selected or not. So we need to change this to hand cursor, and actually it is actually very useful in this case where we show this label as a clickable item, because otherwise the user would not know whether it is clickable or not. As you can see, only if the user clicks on the button, he will know that it is clickable. So let's go ahead and change that. So let's go to the form and change those clickable items cursors to hand. So I will select these three and this one, and let's go to the properties, and in here let's change the cursor from default to hand. So now if you run the program, you will see it is much easier to click on these items than just clicking with the default cursor. As you can see, now we can just easily click on these things and it is very easy to click on them. So now it is actually very obvious that the user can click on this label as well. It actually looks like a link. Now we need to code this register button. What I'm going to do is, if the user click on the register button, he will be just redirected to a website where he can register, create a new account, and come back here and sign in with his credentials. So we're just going to open a web page. So this button already has an event handler, so let's just remove that and create a new event handler for it. And in here we will just copy and paste this piece of code, and here we will type system diagnostics process start. We are going to start a process. So as the parameter, we will just pass a website's URL. So I will type https. So now if you run the program, if we click on register, this should open my browser and it will redirect me to the website I put there. So as you can see, this is the cyber website and I can just close this. Everything works fine. Now all we have to do is code this sign in button. So the way I'm going to code the sign in button is, actually we need to remove the event handler for it as well. I will create a new event handler. So the way I'm going to code this sign in button is, let's say our application only has one user, which is the username with admin. If the application has more than one user, obviously every application need that functionality. So you might have to connect your application with a database or just a text file with the bunch of text with the usernames. So you can use whatever method you want. The point is, you will first check whether the input text is equal to the whether the input text contains in the username list you have. So right now I only have the admin text, so I will just use textbox1 text is equals to admin. But if you have more than one, you might have to do a different algorithm. If you want, I will make a separate video on that. Today's topic is not about algorithms, it is about how you can design and implement a modern user interface inside Visual Studio in C++ Windows Forms applications. We need to check whether the textbox's text is admin. So if the username is equal to admin, that means this user is a valid user. So then we can proceed with the part where we check whether the password is correct. So let's check whether the password is correct as well. Textbox2 text is equals to password. And now if the password is also correct, then we can show a message box. I will just use a basic message box, sign in success, and let's just exit out of the application. You can put whatever code you need here. You can just show some other application or whatever you need. So in this example, I will just use application exit. So if the password is not correct, then we will show another message box saying that the password is incorrect, like that. Actually, if the username is not equals to admin, that means this user does not exist in our database. So then I will show another message box called user does not exist. I'm going to add one more functionality to this if condition. I will just cut this and type another if condition, and in here I will paste that part, and in here I will first check whether the username is username, because in our system we are not allowing username to be a valid username because we are going to use that in this piece of code. So because of that, we need to not allow the user to use his username as username. So let's check whether the textbox's text is username, actually not equals to username. If it's not equal to username, then this part will carry out, and if it's equal to username, then we must say invalid user name. In addition to that, we also need to include this piece of code which is responsible for that the visual thing where we change the username text box to just a clean text box and then back to username and all that fun stuff. And let's just put that in the end of our code, just like that, inside the button to click event. Okay, so that's it for the coding part, and let's see if this works. So let's run the program and see whether it works. Okay, so the application is looking good, and let's see whether it works. So if we click here, it should open up our website just like that. And if we click here, username text is gone. If we click here, it comes right back. And if we click here, password is gone. And if you click here, it comes right back. And if you click here and click here, it works. Now let's say we have the default options here, and I will agree to the terms and conditions. No, actually I don't want to sign in. So let's see whether we can continue without signing in. Okay, so actually I think I need to sign in. So let's just click no for now. So now I have agreed to the terms and conditions. Let's see whether we can sign in. So it says invalid username because this username is not allowed in our database. So let's just add some junk here, and it says user does not exist, and I will type the correct username admin, and then it says incorrect password, and for the password I will put password. So now if we click on sign in success, and the application just exits. So there's one last thing we need to check whether this label works. So if we click on the label and click yes, the application exits. And also you can just exit by clicking here. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something new, and if you did, please leave a comment and like this video so that others can find this video, and also will be a great help for me as well. And if you want to see more content, please check out our channel and subscribe to us and hit the bell icon. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.